Alright everyone, it's been about 100 years since my last video, so I think it's high time for a new one. And honestly, I can't think of a more relevant time to have a real conversation about how difficult it can be to stream and be a content creator. So take a seat and let's get real for a minute because I don't think enough people who talk about this are really clear on how hard streaming can be. Like it is genuinely the real work, long hours, and never finished kind of hard. Doing everything right and still barely missing the 3 viewer average you need to get affiliated kind of hard. So, before you even start the process, you really need to dig deep and decide if you're actually willing to put in the enormous amount of work it takes to stream for keeps, or if you're streaming solely for the fun of it. If you decide that you're doing it for fun, then do whatever you want while you stream. Have fun and don't even look at the viewer count. Turn it off if you can. Know in your heart that you are not going to go very far in streaming and let yourself actually enjoy wherever you do end up going as an added bonus. There's absolutely no shame in that, but be aware that there is rarely ever a lot of money in casual streaming. So enjoy it for fun only and do not quit your day job. P.S. Don't quit your day job right away to be a professional streamer anyway. The starting pay is not good. Heck, if you want to be a casual streamer, then you can honestly stop this video right here because the rest of my advice is going to be about earning money as a streamer, and that's not really going to be relevant to you unless you just kind of find it interesting, which is cool too. That said, if you want to do it to make enough money to survive, you can and absolutely should still have fun because if you aren't, people are going to notice and they're not going to stick around. The main difference between casual streaming and streaming for money is that you can't just do things because you like them. You have to find the right middle ground of viewer retention and fun. So to sum it up, fun is going to be your secondary goal, while running a business is going to be your first. So again, just to make sure you know what I'm saying, streaming for money is not easy, and that is for a multitude of mostly unavoidable reasons. Reason 1, streaming takes work and luck. You can increase that luck stat with specific types of work, but there will always be an element of randomness included. Sometimes your number just never gets picked, and you have to just accept that you're not going to go places. Sometimes people do everything the wrong way and still end up making it before you, even if you're doing everything right, because of the perfect natural 20 on the most specific role. And honestly, that can be discouraging as heck. We'll talk a bit more later in the video about how to increase your luck rolls as much as possible, and if you leave me a link to your stream in the comments, I'll cheer you on from the sidelines as best as I can whenever I have the time. But I want to make absolute sure that you are in every way aware and real with yourself that you might just not end up getting lucky for a long time or even ever. You need to be aware that there might never be a payout, and you need to accept that fact before you get too dedicated so that you can move forward with the highest of hopes, but the most reasonable of expectations, and make sure that you're prepared with a plan B. Reason 2, when you are streaming, you are literally always peopling, because viewers won't want to stay if you're not engaging them in some way, which usually means talking to them directly. People can go watch YouTube videos if they don't want to interact with the person making them. What they generally come to streaming services for is specifically the parasocial relationship with the performer themselves. This means you have to be talking, hanging out, and being a personality rather than just gaming or whatever else. It can be emotionally exhausting even if you're an extrovert and even if you're just being the person you always are. Reason 3, you will spend more time working as a streamer than at any typical day job. If you want to just sit around playing games all day and passively gaining money, this is not what you're looking for. Do not quit your job thinking you can put less work into streaming and just kind of make the same money you would from working a regular day. This goes quadruple for NSFW streaming of any time, as that market is very probably the most saturated market in the world. That said, probably don't quit your job at all until you're seeing survivable amounts of money from streaming at your lowest points beforehand, unless you really don't have another option. For example, I started streaming at first because I couldn't work an office job thanks to disability and was doing commissions for money, so I decided to hang out with people on stream to keep me busy while I worked. I later started to do streaming for money when I actually realized that I could, but honestly, I've still always treated it like an afterthought, and that's why I didn't start growing until I started taking it more seriously. On average, I make the most money when I'm streaming 8 hours a day, a minimum of 5 days a week, and making videos for another 2 to 4 hours per day, and posting to Twitter intermittently. Even at these most intense times, I'm doing a lot less work than the work done for more notable streamers. That said, they also tend to have a whole team putting in work for them. Also, as you can see from scrolling back in my videos, this is not what I've been doing for the last year or so, and there is a reason for that. Burnout is a thing that happens often in streamers, and far more in streamers if you're doing an exhausting amount of work. If you're susceptible to burnout, you can still be a successful streamer, but it will definitely keep you from getting as successful as others. It's very important to set good boundaries with yourself on how much you're willing to do, as well as make sure you're doing enough that you're still working towards success. Which leads me to my next point. Reason number 4 streaming is hard. You will be giving up a lot of your life in order to make streaming work. But you need to build a schedule beforehand in order to be sure that you're not sacrificing things that are too precious. I wholeheartedly believe you should have a journal dedicated to your goals as a streamer. And one of the first pages you need to make is a list of the most important things to you in your life. You should be including things like your family, social life, relationships, free time, and even job. Your social life might fail because you always have the potential to be working, which leads you to this sort of weird guilt whenever you aren't working that you have to learn to work around. Because if you aren't careful to avoid always being in work mode, it's going to affect your work life balance in a really negative way, especially because streaming is already very time intensive on its own. It is very possible it will lead to you not having the emotional energy to dedicate to relationships and loved ones, so you need to make sure you're scheduling specific time for the people in your life, or you will end up losing out on something important. I can promise you this as a parent because I know exactly how easy it can be to drop the ball with your kiddos by making the excuse, I need to make money to keep a roof over our heads, so I have to focus on work over you right now. Your free time will be almost non existent, especially if you're trying to stream while also keeping a day job. And you might end up failing at work because you're so burnt out because you'd rather be streaming. So you need to take time to list out everything that's important to you and what time you're willing to dedicate and what time you're willing to lose out on. If you want to improve in streaming, you're going to want to dedicate at least 1/3 of all of your time to all the different aspects of streaming. And yes, that does include the time you'll be sleeping. Try not to go too far over this number though, as it will exhaust you very quickly. So, what do I mean by aspects of streaming? I need to remind you really quickly that I am personally making this video from the lens of being a Twitch streamer. A lot of these ideas are universal, but some things that I mentioned will actually be more specific to Twitch. That said, for every streamer ever, most of the work you'll do as a streamer is not actually streaming. You have a lot of different things you have to take care of behind the scenes to really grow as a streamer. The first of which is to make a plan. So, let's talk about scheduling and planning. I've touched a little bit on the time you'll spend working as a streamer, but the most important thing to spend time on aside from streaming itself is scheduling your time and planning what you do with it. You need to plan a schedule that works for you, but also make sure that while streaming is the main focus, you're only spending about half of your work time doing it at most. While streaming is technically your bread and butter of your business, it's also kind of the fun work you get to do as a reward for doing all of your busy work. Most of your time will actually be spent editing videos, creating clips for viewers to come back to, and marketing yourself, making yourself prominent enough in the community to have a following that keeps coming back. To do this, you really need to set up a plan and schedule for what you're going to do. To do this, you really need to set up a plan and schedule for what you're going to do. Make as much of this schedule as you're comfortable with visible to your audience and stick to it as heavily as possible. Consistency is literally the most important thing you can have for growing your stream. If people know when you're going to be on, they can plan to tune in. When you can't stick to those plans, be open and honest and prompt about the fact that you can't and give a short explanation why that's within your boundaries. At minimum, I would suggest making a visual calendar with all the days that you'll be streaming each month and what you plan on streaming each day, and what times you can be expected to start and finish your stream. As for your personal calendar, you should be far more in depth. I suggest getting a journal and keeping track of everything, which I know I'll say multiple times in this video, but it really is one of my favorite tools for streaming. Most of what you're scheduling for streaming work will be the other aspects of streaming that I'll list in this video. When you build your schedule, you almost want to plan out every hour of your day to make sure that you're optimizing your time, but also making sure that you're giving yourself free time and rest time as well. Or you're gonna burn out hard and fast, trust me. Scheduling and planning could be its own entire video, and honestly, if you're interested in a video on that, please leave me a comment below and say so because that will absolutely be a future topic if there's enough interest, complete with a little tour of my own journal. The next aspect of streaming is budget. Streaming can be both the cheapest and most expensive thing you'll ever do, depending on the decisions you make and the equipment you already have. So, here's a short list of things you might end up needing in order to succeed. Not everything on this list is totally important, but they are costs to keep in mind. If you haven't started making one yet, the things listed here will help you budget what you still need in order to start. This would be a great page for a streaming journal, by the way. 1. A streaming device and internet. As long as you can stream what you're wanting to stream on it at a decent enough quality to see what's going on and it doesn't drop the stream on a regular basis, that's really all you need in this category. There is no reason to go out and buy an extra special computer setup just for streaming. Instead, wait until you've earned the money from streaming or gotten a sponsorship that lets you build one that way. Until then, it's just not as necessary as you think. If you want to go out and get something like that for your own personal enjoyment, that's something different entirely, but don't bank on it for streaming. 2. A microphone and a camera. Unless you're doing very specific streams like hot tub streaming or ASMR videos, these can be super cheap as long as they work and don't have super annoying quirks like squeaking or blinking or something, which is something that I have experienced on my own stream. It was a fun time. Yes, eventually you should get a better version of them, but it can also wait until you've made the money from streaming to buy them. That said, you really should not avoid having a microphone or camera if you can help it, as people aren't nearly as likely to stay if you aren't actively interacting with them, and they're not even likely to click your stream if they can't see you or your VTubing model. Which leads me to number 3. If you're VTubing, you need a VTubing model. This is not something that you can use to cheap out on a camera with. There are ways to set up VTubing models without cameras so that you can avoid purchasing a camera by doing a model instead. But like at the time that I'm publishing this video, I charge a minimum of $1,500 for my VTubing models, and that's on the fairly cheap side. So be aware that this is going to be one of the highest startup costs you could have if that's the route you're looking to go. Also, maybe hit me up for commissions if you do want to do VR stuff, you know? Number 4, games. If you're just going to play what you already own or free games, then this one won't have any costs whatsoever. If you're looking to play the newest game each week, then this could range anywhere from $40 to $400 a month. Plan accordingly and know that the newest, hottest game is not a guarantee for you to get viewers. Number 5, if you're doing a specialized stream, you're going to need specialized equipment. This means you're going to need a hot tub for a hot tub stream, or at minimum a kiddie pool. It means special clothes and makeup for certain personality-based streams. It means whatever you don't have that you need for the type of stream you're going to do. This is the most variable cost, so it's worthwhile to really have a budget already planned out. Even my traditional art streams require that I budget out months in advance so that I can know how much I need to spend on paints, canvases, etc. in order to properly do the stream. Number 6, Photoshop and video editing software. Remember that you aren't just going to be streaming in order to gain an audience. If you aren't willing to do edits yourself and pay the $60-ish for Creative Cloud each month, or find a free service and learn that, which are generally more finicky, I will be honest about that, then check around for how much it costs to get your videos edited professionally. It's quite a bit more expensive, but it will save you time in having to learn a new skill. Either way, this is a cost you're gonna have to eat if you want to start pushing traffic towards you, and we'll get a little bit more into why later. Number 7, logo and branding. This is an interesting one because it's not really required when you first start. You can do it yourself for free or cheap, and it might honestly have no impact early on, but it is something that you do want to consider if you're gonna do it long term. Having something that people can immediately recognize as you is a really great way to create a sense of fandom and community. As of the time I published this video, I would prepare to drop about $300 on a logo and at least another 100 per emote for when you hit affiliate if you really want high quality stuff. Ask them about commercial prices too, and make sure that they know that it's for your stream so that it can be added into your contract. Because these are great things to put on your merch when you start building a merch store, which is something you should do fairly early on too. And 8, a streaming journal. You can get a cheap, like $20 journal and be fine, but I do highly recommend having one of these. Like I said before, you can keep your schedule, goals, trackers, and whatever else in there that helps keep you motivated and moving. Even with all of these costs in mind, the best practice here is to try to slowly build up your equipment using the money you get from streaming, rather than blow a huge amount of money on your stream right away and expect that it'll help gain you a ton of followers out the gate. Yes, having better tools will make your quality better and bring in more people eventually, but it's like a fraction of a percent more people, so in the beginning, it's not even a noticeable number. You need to instead work at building up your skill as a streamer and let the stream equipment grow with you. If you're keeping a journal, maybe even plan out specific goals for how far into the future you want to wait until you can buy a certain equipment. The next aspect of streaming I want to talk about is viewer discoverability and retention. This is likely the most important and biggest aspect of streaming that exists, and it has a ton of individual elements to it. Discoverability refers to how many people actually see and find your channel, and retention is how many of those people actually stay. How you want to go about pumping these numbers up will inform what you should do as a streamer, all the way down to what kind of streamer you want to be. Something to remember is that viewers should be considered important to you, simply because they care enough about your content to be there for you. However, the value that they bring to your channel is a different equation. What I mean by that is different viewers will give different buffs to your streaming career. What kind of buffs you want to attract should be factored into your future streaming decisions. So let's be vain for a second and talk about what viewers actually have to offer you for just one moment. Donations, or as we call them in the business, donos. For many streamers, this will be your lifeblood, as this is the main thing that's going to keep you financially afloat. If your goal is to financially survive on streaming alone, viewers that donate are going to be a high value to your stream. 2. Subs and bits. For Twitch, this is what keeps you affiliated, which increases traffic towards your channel. Random gifted subs also have a chance to bring people to your channel who wouldn't otherwise visit. If your goal is financial survivability and high viewer count, then these viewers can bring a high value to your stream. 3. Chatting. This brings you higher up in the algorithm, as well as keeps your entertainment momentum flowing. It's a lot easier to have fun and crack jokes when you're doing so with someone rather than alone and not knowing if they're even being received well. If your goal is to have fun, gain viewers, or be more entertaining, then these viewers bring a high value to your stream. 4. Lurking. These are the viewers that don't chat but do hang out and watch or leave your stream running in the background while they do other things, bringing up your viewer count, which increases your ranking in the algorithm. If your goal is to just stream for yourself and know someone is there or gain viewers, then these viewers bring a high value to your stream. And number 5, the follow and run viewers. These viewers give a slight bump in the algorithm, but also in the psychology of other people who may follow. If you have a ton of followers, it's more likely for people to stick around and see what the big deal is than if you have a small pool of followers. If your goal is to just stream for yourself or gain followers or viewers, these viewers bring a high value to your stream. Notice how I did not say that any single viewer did not bring value to a stream. Every viewer is absolutely precious to you and worth your time. Remember that if you're sitting in a room playing video games, even having 2 or 3 people watching you can fill the room. That said, when it comes to what things viewers do to keep your channel going, your specific goals will inform the decisions that you make in your stream. In general, when the stream is running, everyone should be given mostly equal love from you as a streamer. That's not to say that you can't be more friendly with people that show up more often, as frankly, they will feel much more like a friend than a brand new viewer. But you should be bringing a similar energy to everyone on your stream while you stream. And especially not only emphasizing the people who bring the most value to your stream itself, there definitely are streamers who straight up ignore anyone that doesn't donate or sub to them. And that's frankly not a sustainable business model in most cases. It also just feels really sucky as a viewer. The actual reason to focus on the value of viewers to your stream is to focus on what brings the ones with the buffs you want to your stream back and what gets you more of that type of viewer. So, as an example for me, I tend to get more average gift sub drops when I'm doing traditional art streams over digital ones. Based on the trends I've seen with it in my stream, I personally think the reason for this is that I work as a commission artist in digital art. So most of my streams are digital work, and I make traditional art streams only for special occasions. This means that more people tune in for those streams than average, both because it's a little different than the norm and because it's a little more special to be there on those days for the occasion, which does bump up those valuable viewer numbers specifically by virtue of bumping up all the numbers. It's also just a rarer and more special occasion in general, which means that people who normally wouldn't give subs are more likely to want to drop a little extra money to celebrate. For me, this means that if I started to do more traditional art regularly, it would probably lower my numbers for the special occasion streams, meaning that the high value of those streams would drop. Therefore, it would not increase the value of my stream to do more traditional streams more often because it would negate the specialness of those streams. That said, when I do commission streams and talk more about how to get work as an artist, my numbers jump way up pretty regularly no matter what the occasion is. So I tend to encourage questions about how to improve as an artist or how to get work. I even give the advice freely without questions from time to time if I can think of something that flows pretty well with the rest of whatever I'm talking about. So, how do you find out which content you're creating works specifically for you to increase your viewership value? Well, first, you have to decide what you want to do as a streamer, which leads me to building your content. Pick something that you love, a skill you have, or something that you already spend a lot of time doing. For me, that was art, as I do commissions as my full time job already, so doing that while also hanging out on stream was a fairly easy choice. If you enjoy playing video games, or like to just sit and chat with other people, or really have a focus that takes a ton of time and won't get you in trouble for streaming, then that's where you should start. I was going to go more in depth on what each type of streaming takes, as gaming streamers are going to have completely different focuses than art streamers are going to have, and they're going to have completely different focuses than hot tub streamers are going to have. But the outline alone told me that it was going to double the length of this video, so if you're interested in that, please tell me below, and I will prioritize making a specific video for that soon. A few good next steps after you've figured out what you want to stream is to figure out how you want to do it and what works for increasing that viewership value. A couple of good ways to learn are to do things like 1. Research. Watch videos like the one you're watching right now. That's right, you're already taking steps, and I am proud of you. If you're looking for recommendations, I really love Senpai Gaming or Harris Heller for learning things about setting up and getting big as a streamer. Honestly, they have a ton more info on their channel than I could even hope to begin to cover at this point. So if you haven't already, I would absolutely suggest checking them out as well. Also, shameless plug, if you want to just hit that follow button down there for me, I'm going to post more of these kinds of videos in the future too. So, Anyway, other forms of research can be reading up on tutorials and studies and books about not just streaming in general, but also psychology of customer retention. One that has a ton of interesting points is The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. It's spelled Duhigg, as it talks a bit about how businesses have changed their advertising practices based on the habits of the modern consumer. And it has a lot of neat insight in how habits inform how we spend money. 2. Watch. Watch other streamers that do what you want to do and watch a lot of them. Ask them what they think is the most important thing that's helped them stream. But also just observe. Take little things you like from them and include them in your stream. Shout them out when you notice that you're doing those things. Watch the big names even if you don't want to do what they're doing. What does the crowd seem to respond to? Add little elements of anything you like to your streaming style. A little side note on this idea, decide on what kind of person you want to be while you stream. Keep in mind that trying to keep up a certain persona that isn't you is exhausting, and you have to keep that persona up for however many hours that you are live as you stream. Every time that you stream, unless it's a special occasion stream. But for day to day, instead, I would just play up the aspects of yourself that you like the best and learn how to really lean into those traits. If you want to be a funny streamer, study what makes good comedy, watch comedians, practice with your friends. Do you want to discuss mental health? Make sure that you're researching how to talk about hard things in a healthy way. Watching the greats in whatever fields you want to focus on will help you pick up on the traits you like and add them to your repertoire. 3. And then just try things. Each stream is a new stream, and while you'll slowly come into your own as the streamer that you're going to be, you have plenty of time to try out all the things you think might work, keep what you like, and throw out what you don't. Take notes even while you stream if you can, after your stream for sure, and then go back and watch your VODs and take more notes on what worked to get your viewers' attention and the reactions from them that you wanted. Adjust your personal formula to fit whatever your viewers seem to enjoy the most. And yes, this does mean that you can keep notes on who your high value viewers are and what they're responding to. Are the people that drop sub gifts more likely to respond to a certain kind of humor? Do they seem to go quiet after you make a specific type of comment? What about the rest of your viewers? Are you alienating some people for the sake of money, or are you keeping a good middle ground? While you're doing that, make sure that you're setting good boundaries as a streamer and cultivating an audience that makes you happy. You might grow a little more slowly, but you're going to love your job a lot more. I personally have not changed who I am when I stream. I'm the same person in and out of stream, but parts of my personality are absolutely turned up while I stream so that I can keep people's attention. And that's a genuine requirement if you want to make it work. And before you go off on me about how that's being fake or you're telling us to sell out, first off, it's just you being who you are, but more of one part of yourself than others, which everyone already does at least a little bit when they work or around their prudish family, etc. Second, if streaming is literally your livelihood, then yes, you do need to at least partly focus on doing what helps you stay alive. Frankly, if you're morally objecting to that, then streaming for money is not for you. 4. Viewer feedback. Speculating based on viewer response is always going to be great, but an even better way to learn what your viewers want is to just ask them. Take time to create surveys for your viewers. I would not overwhelm them with a daily one, or one after every stream, unless you set up a sort of suggestion box for them to fill out anytime at their leisure and multiple times, and just have your streambot remind viewers that it exists from time to time. But I would maybe put one dedicated survey out every 6 months or so, and maybe even a shorter time frame if you're getting a ton of mixed answers every time, so that you can figure out what is working out long term. But remember to ask important questions in that survey, like, what did you like about my streams recently? What did you dislike? Was there anything you loved or hated? What times would you prefer that I streamed? Did you enjoy X thing that I've been trying out? Give your viewers a chance to tell you what works for them. Literally every business and their mother does this in one way or another, so why should streaming be any different? Honestly, this is one thing that I actually did on a whim once months ago, and the information that I got then was so not what I expected and changed so much of my perspective on my stream, and it improved my viewership so much that I absolutely suggest this for every single streamer ever. Once you know what you want to stream, and you have a good stream setup, and are starting out, the next major thing that you want to focus on for viewer discoverability is networking. Right now, the most important networking tool at your fingertips for building an audience is YouTube. Even if you're not streaming on YouTube, you should be posting videos on YouTube. These can be pretty much anything that relates to your stream work and should include, but aren't limited to, funny clips of things that happen during your stream, compilations of said funny clips, process videos showing off what you do and how it looks on your stream, and exclusive content videos, which can be videos where you talk about something that's useful for people that might want to follow you like I'm doing right now, or just exclusive gameplay your Twitch doesn't get to see, or something else entirely as long as it relates to your stream somehow. Remember that YouTube has a specific and particular algorithm, so it's worthwhile to do some research on what would be best for you to post specifically based on what you want to do. I want to reiterate, even if you don't do any other networking things whatsoever, you should be doing a YouTube channel. If you aren't up to editing yourself and if you have the means, you should absolutely hire someone to do the editing part for you. That said, even if you're posting videos with subpar editing, if you're letting your stream personality shine through in your videos and being consistent, then it is worthwhile to post. As for other forms of social media, Twitter is the biggest one for finding a new audience outside of YouTube. Instagram and Facebook are okay too, but they are far more likely to slam your algorithm right in the face for posting links, making it not as beneficial for trying to stream on Twitch. However, if you want to post to Facebook, they do have their own okay streaming services too. TikTok is a bit finicky because it's based more on viral trend culture and doesn't encourage movement outside of their app itself. But if you're already on it and have the time and energy, posting there helps too. Basically, the more social media you're on and can keep up the energy for, the more visibility you will have. But if you can't keep up a good energy on all of them, pick 2 or 3 that will be your bread and butter and kind of mess up the other ones at your leisure. As for how to use social media, I cannot stress this enough. Don't make every post an advertisement for your stream. In fact, when it comes to posts, advertisements for your stream should be at a maximum 1/3 of your posts. The other 2/3 should be spent promoting other people and networking, and fun, playful posts that show off your personality and whatever you're doing on your stream, like gameplay, art, music, what have you. This means if you're, heaven forbid, streaming every single day, you should be posting 1 stream link a day, 1 promotion for a streamer or conversation with a peer a day, and 1 personality post a day. On the streaming site itself, you have a few options for networking as well. First, if it is available to you, you need to raid. Raiding is throwing all of your viewers into someone else's channel so that you can share the love with them and hopefully gain them a few followers. Try to raid people who have the same or fewer viewership than you, or people that you know fairly well and have a good repertoire with. Make sure that you're sticking around to chat and get to know the person that you've raided, and do not self-promote without being asked to do so. On that note, if you get rated, you should be screaming that person's praises. Even if they have 0 people rating with them because they still brought themselves to you and bumped up the algorithm for you for a second or 2. Shout them out with a link to their channel. Ask them if they have something from their stream that they want to share, and then ask them what they did on stream. Encourage them to share the inside jokes they made from their stream with you. Remember that chatting viewers boost the algorithm more than lurking viewers, even if they don't follow. In that same vein, spend time getting to know other streamers, both by rating and by just hanging out in other streams when you're not streaming. Chat with them, talk about commonalities you have with them, both stream-wise and in general. Try not to bring up your stream or that you stream too much because a lot of people will see it as advertising under the guise of friendliness, and it can read really badly for you to a lot of people. As an autistic myself, this is one of those roles I just did not understand starting out because, hey, we both stream feels like a great commonality, but yeah, taking time to understand streaming culture as much as possible is useful, which really only happens by hanging out in other channels and learning the vibes. Build communities with the streamers you make friends with, especially if you're just starting out. Creating a shared Discord and piggybacking off of each other's slow rises helps a ton, which leads me to another great tool. Discord! Create a Discord if you haven't already, even if it's not a co-op. Having a place where the viewers can hang out with you outside of the stream, especially building a community where you hang out and play games with your viewers and things like that, that is a great way to make friends in the community and grow. It leads to you being happier and building a community that truly cares for each other, and it's genuinely just a wonderful experience to get to make so many friends, in my personal opinion as an extrovert. Going back to TikTok for just a second, there is such a thing as high traffic content, and sometimes it does pay to follow trends. As an artist, I get far more hits if I can post something immediately relevant to whatever is in the media. My highest tweeted art piece is a Batman meme I stayed up all night to create and posted to Twitter the day after the event that triggered it. The piece itself wasn't as high quality as my typical art is, but it was relevant, funny, and one of the first to come out after said event. But to be clear, you are not always going to be able to keep up with these kinds of trends, and you shouldn't. Trying to do so is likely to emotionally screw you. Straight up, you will wear yourself down constantly trying to keep up with it, and it will ruin any joy you might get from doing your normal content. But if one of them does speak to you and you have the platform already set up to create something that fits that high traffic content, then you absolutely should do it. Just try to rest in between each trend as much as you need and be prepared for it not to go as far as you had hoped. The other thing to note, going back to that Batman meme, is that I think I got like 15 followers off of that post alone, which is the highest I've ever gotten off of one art piece. But it is still fairly low, and if I went to check, I don't even think all of them would still be following me. They also generally aren't the ones sharing my other art and getting me visibility. The virality was nice and even motivated me a bit, but it wasn't long term, and constantly seeking the short term big bursts as opposed to the long term loyalty will leave you with a ton of followers and very little viewership, which does not make for a profitable model and can be incredibly tiring and discouraging. If you're going to try to live off of virality, research specifically how to profit off of that, because it is different from profiting as a streamer, and I have absolutely no idea how to do it. Long story short, following trends is not bad per se, but it isn't going to benefit you as much as building a consistent viewer base based on who you are and what you enjoy doing. Thank you so much for watching my video, and please know that I am not here to try and discourage you. I just want you to be real with yourself before moving too far forward too fast without knowing all the details and screwing yourself over. I don't think there are enough people saying, yes, you can do it, but are you willing to put in the work? So that's what I wanted to do here. I love you all. Thank you for staying to the end. If you like my content, please like and subscribe, and maybe even check out my Twitch channel. I do art and try to send out all the positive vibes possible. The link to all my socials will be found below. Bye!